time for another co-learning homebrew video. G'day guys, Beer Healer here and welcome back to the brew shed for another brew day. Now this morning I'm feeling very ordinary, quite hungover, so while I drink on this sugary drink I'm brewing a batch of the stuff that's giving me this hangover, so how ironic is that? Anyway, what we're doing today, we're doing the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale tribute once again. If you remember my last video, I brewed that in the Brewie and only came up with an original gravity of 1.044 instead of 1.054. So, as always with these brew experiments of mine, I'm trying to learn something. So, what I'm trying to work out here is what I did wrong, basically. So, if anybody's got any suggestions of what went wrong in that brew and want to have a chat about it, leave me a comment and we'll go through it. For now, I'll show you some footage of what's been going on beforehand, because this is now mashing away, and then we'll get back and we'll have a little bit more of a chat about what's going on. Alrighty, so there you go, a bit of close-up action there for you in response to some viewers' request to see how Brewie does its thing in detail. I'll be adding some more into this video here today. Now look, what we're talking about this week and the problem that I've had is conversion efficiency. And before I get moving on, I've got to say a massive shout out to everybody in the homebrew community who's helped me this week, in particular Cookie Chong, just helping me understand, you know, what this terminology is all about and maybe how to fix it, because as you guys know, I'm no expert in the brew house and I'm learning all the time, which is something I absolutely love about brewing with Brewie at the moment. So efficiency really is around about, you know, how you're using those grains and getting the most out of them, and how they react with your water in your brew. Now, one of the things I've changed today to try and get a better efficiency reading is sparging. I've doubled the sparge time on this brew here, and I've mucked around a little bit with the amount of water that goes in at the first strike and then through the sparge to see if that sort of can help me out as well. Now, speaking of water, water is so important in brewing, and I sort of haven't really given it much thought until now, where Cookie told me to check you know, the acidity and all that sort of stuff of my water, sorry, alkalinity I should say. And it came out that the water in my local area has a pH of 7.8, which I think might be a little bit high to get the best out of my grains. I did read sort of maybe 5.5 is probably a great place to be with that. So potentially on my next brew I might need to muck around with the pH of the water. The hardness of my water is at 33 and the alkalinity is at 22.6. So I'm just stating those numbers now in the hope that maybe somebody might sort of shout out and say, hey, you should drop them or increase them or whatever. But if not, in between now and the next brew, I'm going to do a bit of reading on that and sort of how to muck around with the water to make it sort of more efficient. And last of all, the grain milling, sorry. I had to adjust my grain mill to make sure it was around about the 0.8 millimeters amount, so I got the best out of my grains so that when they go into the water, you can get all those sugars out. So anyway, that's it for now. We'll get back to the brewing, and I'll be back in shortly just to check in with the next stage of the brew. Alrighty guys, so that's brew day done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those close-up shots from the brew today. I thought we'd do something a bit different this time. All that's left now is for me to take the gravity reading, because I've drained the thing off, and you can probably hear Brew in the background starting to do itself clean, which is always nice at the end of the brew day, not having to scrub everything. So I'll put that onto its cleaning cycle, then I'll go and enjoy a beer. But looking at the reading here, it's about 1.055, I think, is sort of how I can read it at the moment. A little bit difficult to tell with the bubbles, but pretty happy with that. So maybe some of those little adjustments I made today sort of helped with the brewing. I did have a little bit of a boil over there, so we probably only got about 15 litres going on here. That was my fault. I covered the vents on the top of the Brewie, and about a bit over a litre I think is left in the bottom of the Brewie when you don't drain the sediments into the final fermenter. So I'm pretty happy with that, but there's always more to learn. So if any of you guys have got out there have got tips on either using Brewie or another system and how to make sure that you're getting everything you can out of the grains, I'd love to hear it. Leave me a comment, shoot me an email, or start the conversation, because that's what this is all about. I love craft beer and I love having conversations about it, so join me. But look, until we talk again in the Beer Healer Shed for a beer review or a brew or whatever, cheers to great beers.